Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Please let me know on the chat if you can hear me clearly and if you can see my screen. Okay, you can see some comment coming in. Yes, both. Thank you. Thank you, Tolu. Good afternoon to you. You don't see your screen. Thank you, everyone. Yes. Thank you for joining today. I appreciate you making the time. I know it's Saturday. You possibly have 1001 things you could be doing right now. So we won't wait your time any longer. Got a few people logged in already. We'll still be able to have access to this recording later in the future. So if you miss anything, please watch out for the recording. And also, please, if you have any questions, we'll be checking the chat later. So please put in any question you may have, and then we will go through that at some point. I'll give a few minutes after this and then talk about a few questions and maybe some next step. So thank you very much. Let's get started. So we're doing this ready to buy just to prepare more people on navigating journey to buying property in the UK. So, and one of the things we are looking at is to keep doing this on a regular basis, maybe every 2 weeks, as much as possible. So if you have friends and family you want to join in the future, please share this link with them or send a message, phone details out, and then we'll be able to register them on the next section. So the idea is to give us a clear roadmap in buying your first home. If you've on that, if that's your own particular situation. But for people that already have their first home, then it's just creating an awareness for you to not stop on that, for you to start creating wealth through property. Property is one of the main stream of wealth creation. There are obviously other streams, but most times you live in a house, you rent a house, more people are more familiar with property. So, and one of the things is we want to do a Q&A. We want to make this give you enough confidence to be able to do the next step. Some people have already, so you might be new in the country. You might have been in this country. We just want to make sure that you have the financial literacy and the financial education to be able to take the right step when you need to. For some, it might be 3 months' time. For some, it might be immediate. For some, it might be 3 years. So everybody's journey is very different. So let's get started. So my name is Deji Nayan. I'm a mortgage broker and financial planner, qualified financial planner, qualified accountant as well, ACCA, full qualification. But I'm focused mainly on financial planning, property, and mortgages. So today we'll be delving more into the mortgages in the UK. So just as part of my role in the financial services sector, because it's a regulated sector and I don't know who I'm speaking to right now. So this is not to be seen as an advice. This is for general training purpose because individual cases differs. So we can't address your specific situation right now. We might be able to do that when we do question and answer, but for general concept, this is to not be taken as an advice. I can advise you or recommend a product if I don't know exactly who you are or what your situation is. So over the years, I've been working within the sector. and we have some books published, mainly in the financial services, mainly around property, mainly around helping our clients to be more confident in terms of their journey to buying property. And it ranges from off plan to understanding property prosperity. Auction is another aspect of what we focus on. And in recent time, we've been doing very well with supported living, social care, which in general we term as social impact investment. And also because my background is being from technology, and I've been doing quite a lot of stuff with AI in the financial services space. So that's some of the things that we have written about. And one of the drivers to this mission of us trying to get 1,000 people to be financially literate to be able to get their property is stemming from my desire to, as a diaspora, to see how the diaspora can leverage our skill set, our abilities in our motherland. So we've been doing a lot of community engagement, and that's one of the reasons why the book we have on diaspora economy is showcasing what we need to be doing within our diaspora community and also what we need to be doing in the motherland. So that's mainly what that is. So you can have access to any of our books on Amazon. So please make yourself have access to those. Sometime often we do give some of this book out free. So please watch out for that as well. So our main objective and aim is one, to make sure that the root causes and the solutions of low home ownership in the Black community. So yes, we talk about the problem, why as a Black community we don't have enough properties in the UK, or we don't understand the concept, or we don't understand the steps required, or maybe it's just been too difficult. So we want to delve into the root causes. So we're going to fly through some of the root causes. It's not an exhaustive list, but it will give us an idea. We want to be able to leverage on property to create wealth and establish generational wealth transfer. Yes, it's one thing that we individually do well, but more importantly, we want to see how that wealth can be transferred to the next generation. The third most important thing as joining this section is to create the mindset shift towards wealth, in meaning that you are more confident, you know what you need to do, and it starts from the mind. So we're going to go into that quickly. So mission statement, I've said it briefly. It's 1,000 home ownership in the Black community by next year. So we want to expand our reach within the community, create the education required, help people along the process. And yeah, that's our mission. So please, this is something we cannot achieve by ourselves. We definitely would welcome you on board to share this with your friends, with your family, as many people as we can get to be financially educated, to know what they need to do, to understand how and what they need to do in terms of finances, property, mortgages in the UK. Please make do to share with them. Mindset is everything. It's either you believe you can do it or you can't do it. It's based on your mindset. So if you can start understanding the foundation of that, it would help you along the way. Like I said from the beginning, some people might be able to do this in 3 weeks. Some people might do it in 3 months. Some people might do it now. Some people might be 3 years. But when you are on that track, when you have the mindset that this is what you want to achieve, then it's likely to happen. Unlike if you don't have an idea what is possible. So what's financial planning? I said qualified financial planning in the UK. So we're just going to try to talk about that. Financial planning is meeting your life goals through proper management of finances. Everybody is at different life stages. We were not talking about life stages today, but we have a slide that will touch about that. So your life stage might be different from your neighbors, from your friends and stuff. So, but what is important is to understand your own life stage and then be able to plan based on that. Maybe you might be planning to pay school fees for your children or for yourself. You might be planning to move to another house. You might be planning to buy your first house. You might be one that is close to retirement. You want to think about that. You might be planning for an holiday. There's so many things, but it's understanding your life goals and putting proper management through that. What is life planning? One of the important questions we have in financial planning is for us to start to review and reflect on our life scenarios. So the question you can take away from yourself today is to look at: do you have well-defined and articulated life goals? If anybody asks you what is your plan, what are you planning for this year, for next 5 years, for next 10 years? Do you have something articulated enough to do that? So you need to start asking yourself, what are my life goals? Are you on track to achieve your life goals? Because it's one thing to have a goal, it's another thing to make sure that you are tracking that goal. You are seeing the progress, and sometimes it might not look like progress, but you know you're staying consistent in that lane, and you're most likely going to achieve that. An important question when you start reflecting is, why have you not reached or not been on track for your life goals? That might be where we need to have a reset. One of the things that we shared in the past is about the COVID became a reset opportunity for a lot of people. Something that we never thought could happen, something that we never know the dimension of what it could, but it's a powerful piece that we could lean back on and use as a reset. So in life goals, you can just look at, yes, maybe things are not moving in the direction I want. So you can just start to replan and reset from there. So that's important. Talk about life goals. So this is different age group from 20 to 90. I tell people, whatever how old you are, try as much as possible to plan for age 100, so that you have enough finances to be able to support yourself through that journey. Uh, that's quite an important thing. Make sure you are planning not just for now, but you're planning as much as possible to age 100. So we have people at 20, they have different life goals. They might be looking at student loan, they might be thinking about lifestyle and properties. It's just different for different people. Maybe at 30, people are starting thinking about, I want to purchase my first house. I want to maybe some people getting married, some people are thinking about children, 40, promotion, higher salary. Why we're showing this is to show that there are different life stages and there are different plans that can be used for those life stages. One of the important things is to understand when we're talking about what, yes, we talk about accumulation, preservation, distribution of your wealth, but more importantly, about legacy. So some of the steps you can plan for yourself is to think, how are you protecting your wealth? How are you creating property wealth? How are you managing your wealth? Because that's it's just not creating wealth that matters. I say people will go to work. That's very important because we need the resources to make life happen. But that's just not the only thing we need to focus on. How can you create business wealth if you are in the business line? How can you preserve your wealth and how can you retain your wealth for the next generation? So that's quite important. Don't think your life ends with you. That is a wrong way to think about it. That's a wrong mindset situation. You want to make sure that you have enough resources in your lifetime and for the future ahead of you. It might not, it will definitely not happen immediately, but when you have a plan, you need to just check, are you on track for your plan? That's the most important thing. There will be life delays, there will be life situations you can control, but as far as you have a plan and you're reviewing and reflecting on it and resetting your plan, you are moving in the right track. So please understand your financial life cycle. Where are you and what should matter to you? That's very, very important. You don't want to be 60, 70 and thinking, oh, I need daily money to be able to take care of myself. That is the wrong time to start thinking about that. So you need to think 20 years before now, or 10 years before now, depending on your age, or 5 years before now, depending on your age, and then be able to plan according to that. So this is what we are exactly doing, financial literacy. We are making and enlightening people to be able to understand the basic about finances. One of the important things we say is, yes, a lot of people go to school, degree level, master's, PhD, professor. But one of the things that we get missed out is we don't get trained in how money works. So we spend years in primary school, secondary school, university, higher education. We don't understand how finances work. But when we now get to the world, to the marketplace, we now have to fend and make life work. So it's kind of a mismatch. So the education system will not prepare you for the life. So you need to plan yourself. So that's why we talk about having a financial game plan. What's your strategic navigator? If you're going to a direction, you need to put it in your sat nav to say, this is the direction I'm going in. And you can rely on that to take you to your direction. So if you can combine financial literacy and financial game plan, that would give you financial freedom. Financial freedom is different for different people. Some people say if I have 3,000 monthly cash flow, some people might say 10,000, some people might say 1 million, whatever it is, you need to make it relative to you. You need to make it relevant to your situation. But more importantly, financial freedom is giving you that peace of mind that you are on track, you know where what is happening, your finances are in the right position. If they are not in the right position, you have a process in place to be able to get back on track. So that's quite important. So that's what we are trying to do with this. Again, in life, your decisions determines your destiny. If you think for a second, where you are now is the definition of decisions you've taken up till now. So maybe take a minute to just thinking, what's been that strongest decision that has been shaping your life or directing your life? I'll just give us a second to think about that. What is that decisions that you have made that is shaping your life right now? Okay. I hope we've been able to just think, slow down, and think about it. What is that is shaping your life? And that's quite an important thing. A lot of times we maybe run through life, not stopping, not pausing, just to reflect on things. So financial literacy, financial game plan is us actually thinking this is a roadmap and let's reflect on it. Let's say that we are still on the right journey. Let's be sure we've not taken the right bus, sorry, the wrong bus, and thinking we are going to land in one direction. So that's quite important. So decisions determines your destiny. So whatever decisions you make from here would help you to shape that destiny you want. So that's quite an important thing to think about. Okay, so let's talk briefly about Black home ownership and why that is something we want to highlight. This will be very quick. We just want to go through a few things. Before we do that, one of the key examples I like us to think about as part of our reflection mode is if you take someone that is earning 50K and they have a work life of 40 years, say they start at 25, 40 years, 65, they have gotten 2 million, and this is an average, so maybe they might not start at that rate or whatever. This is just a figure, just to illustrate a point. Over the years, they've earned 2 million. If the income level is 25, over 40 years, they earn 1 million. Why I show this is to show people that money has passed through your hands one way or the other. So that's not usually the problem most times. Like I said, we need to have income, either business income, either employed income, to be able to live our lifestyle, which is important, which is what a lot of people focus on. But that's just not the only equation that matters. Take 40 years. If someone has bought a property over 40 years, that property, if it's in London, that person is potentially a millionaire by just owning one property over 40 years. The 2 million they've made from an average income of 50,000 is gone to life expenses. Most people don't have anything to show for it over a long period because life happens. Life expenses, cost of living is gone high and stuff. I just want people to actually think about it. Like, yes, we need to do the work. We need to get the income in. But what's going to change your life is not the work you do. what's going to change your life is what you implement with the work you're doing. What are the assets you put in place while you are doing the work? And you are using the work as a channel to create wealth, because you're not, with your income, you're not going to be a millionaire. You're not going to be having financial freedom if you've not put the right structure in place. And for this discussion, we are talking about property. For other discussion, it might be getting your pension in place. It might be getting a business in place. It might be so many things. It might be creating a side also that you know gives you enough income even when you are not fully working in it. So you just need to have a strategy for yourself. You just need to know that my work as it stands cannot feed the future. So what do you need to do now to be able to make sure that your future is taken care of? So this gives us a good analogy. Even if you're not in London, even if you are outside London, having a house for 40 years would put you in a better position. Just one house. Just imagine what that would be if it is maybe two houses or three, or whatever it is that you want to achieve. Again, it's the mindset. If you get the mindset right, you can put a plan to it. And a plan with the right mindset, you can actually achieve that goal. So that's just one thing. So, average first time, and a lot of people struggle with this. Now, yes, it's becoming more difficult to get a property without any doubt. But there are statistics to show that if you're renting versus if you're buying a property, there are savings from that. And this statistic is showing this is like 2,700 per year. Yes, people will come to say, yes, what about the cost of maintaining the house and stuff? Yes, there are costs to that without any doubt. But on average, and again, in simple terms, if you're renting and you don't have any asset you are building, either a property asset or a business asset, you just realize that that money you're paying to rent is sunk cost. It doesn't ever come back to you. It is gone, and it's gone forever, because you are paying for you to stay in a place that is not going to come back to you. So that's quite important for people to understand that. So, renting versus buying a property. This picture is very important. I like people to maybe take a screenshot, just take it away. Wealth in pictures. This is depicting what the Office of the National Statistics have on record. And in all of this, the Black Africans are potentially the least in terms of wealth creation in the UK. And this is concerning. This is why we are doing this conversation, for us to start to be enlightened about these things, for us to be able to plan and be active in our pursuit of how we want to create our future. That's really, really why we are having this conversation. So if you look at it they have net financial wealth, they have net property wealth, they have private pension wealth, and they have the physical wealth. The only one that the Black community is coming out enough is in the physical wealth. And physical wealth relates to your cars, your jewelries, and everything else that you're saying, maybe your house, your content, and all of those things. That is physical wealth. It's not uncommon, because you can see a lot of Black people have big cars and spend a lot of money on cars. So that's why we are coming on that. But in terms of pension, which is how people are going to look after themselves in future years, we are almost at zero level. In terms of net property wealth, within the calculation, we are not even showing up yet. And in terms of net financial wealth will be your savings, your investment, and everything else that you could liquidate to say, these are what my asset is. We are not showing up yet. This is not a problem. It's just having understanding of that and saying, making that decision that you're going to change things for yourself. You're going to change things for your family. You're going to change things for the next generation. That's why this picture is important. Don't just look at it and feel like, oh, wow, The question is, what are you going to do about it for yourself? The question to me is, what am I going to do about it for myself, for my family, for my generation to come? That is an important question. So again, the questions, the quality of your question will determine the quality of your life. So don't be, oh yes, it's difficult to do things. Yes, it is. But the question is, how can you do it? What needs to be in place for you to be able to do it? So we'll talk about the root causes, why a lot of Black people don't show up in the wealth statistics in the UK. And we have a few challenges. We are not glossing over things and thinking maybe there's no challenges. Yeah, there are recognized challenges. That's not a problem. Our challenges might be different from other ethnicity or other people. So let's just highlight it. You might be able to pick one or two that is of concern to you, and then you can work on it. Uh, Please let me know in the chat if you're still with me, if you can still hear me, so that I'm sure that things are on the right track. So I'll just continue. So challenge number one is having incorrect expectation from the motherland. When people come into the country, maybe the wrong expectation is what we have. Maybe we're thinking, well, they were coming to pick gold and diamond on the streets of London. Maybe that's the mindset we have. Maybe, thank you very much for confirming. I appreciate that. Uh, Maybe that's a problem in itself. Maybe people that have come before us have not told us what it is to actually be in the UK. There's no forum like this that educates us about how to prepare for the life in the UK. And that's one of the things I've been telling people. Yes, we have the Japa syndrome, and Japa has been forever. It's not just now. But more importantly, who is preparing the future ahead, who is helping the people that have just come into the country, that preparing them in different ways. So that could be where it started, having the wrong expectation. Oh, I'm going to find job the next day or stuff. That could completely be wrong from the reality in itself. So let's go through this. Short-term thinking for a lot of people. A lot of people might think, yes, I'm just coming as just to make money, some money in the UK. Then after that, I'll go back home. I'm moving back home. I'm moving back home. And it's not unusual for people to say I'm moving back home, and 20 years they're still here, 30 years, 40 years they're still here. But for that focus on short term is not helping them to plan their life in the UK, and also whatever future life they want to plan wherever country they come from originally. So that it's another challenge. Misorientation, so known as where you start matters, and this is very important. Where do you realize the wealth is grown around information, around communities. So the information you get determines where you land. If you come into the country and you have people doing IT, there is a very high likelihood that you're going to be channeled into doing IT. If you come to the country and you focus and you find yourself on people that are doing cleaning or care, very more likely that you're going to get yourself in that space, except you deliberately and intentionally direct yourself outside that. So that is one of the challenges a lot of people faces. I'll go again quickly. Comparison with the homeland. A lot of people, oh yes, I've come to UK, world class, everything works, and start comparing. I'm better than my colleagues in Nigeria or in Ghana, whatever it is. That's a mistake in itself, because most times when people compare, they don't compare themselves with the best of the solution in their motherland. They don't compare themselves with the highest earning or high income earners to where they have. They feel like, okay, because pounds is heavy in terms of conversion, or I'm doing better. So that's a wrong thing in itself. Investing in the homeland. So a lot of people start investing in the homeland without getting the structure of investing in the UK. So that in itself, it's divided attention. You're not stable first. Some, it could be because of paperwork, understandable, but it's just bringing these challenges up and know which one stacks against you. When you know the challenge or the mountain you're facing, then you can find an amicable solution to that. So residency issue, mortgages with visas, that is a big one. A lot of people come here without regularized paperwork, or even people that have come in um, they are still under mortgage, and under visas, and most mortgages do not allow or permit the same level of mortgage access to people that are UK based. But the good news about that is over the last 2 years, a lot of lenders are able to work with even new people that have been in the UK. So if you've been in UK for 1 year, you don't need to have 3 year record. You don't need to have visa still available for 2 years or something. So a lot of that space is changing. And this is one of the reasons I said we should have this conversation, because people think that because I have a visa, I can't get a mortgage. That's completely wrong. There's different solution for different class of visa you have. So please just don't make that decision up because you of hearsay, your brother, your sister, someone you know said it's not possible. Actually, present your case to a qualified broker, mortgage broker, and they'll be able to assess the options for you. So if you're having questions around you have a visa, you want a mortgage, please drop a chat, maybe privately, send a message to the text that you got from, and then we'll be able to support you on that. So let's move on quickly. Career misorientation. So a lot of people come into the country maybe for paperwork, but they come in through masters. And one of the things that you find in the UK is your master's does not necessarily help you in getting employment. And you've spent a lot of money to achieve that. A lot of people need to do master's, PhD, just to remain in the system. And it's not cheap. People having to do their visa, renew their visa, they spend a lot of money. So that could be an issue in itself when people are not planning for these things. Because yes, you need your paper regularized, but if it's costing you maybe for a family, sometimes 6K, 10K, whatever it is, you realize that to even get a deposit saved will be a big issue. So that people should start focusing on what can I do. There are a lot of short courses within UK that would give you better employment than doing a master's or doing a degree. So that's just something that we need to enlighten people more. When people are coming over to the UK, it should just not be, oh, if I get a master's, things are going to be okay. UK don't really care for your master's. So that's just something that people need to bear in mind. So let's move on. Focus on academic versus hands-on. Yeah, so a lot of people from the Black community, we are very, very educated. Different level of doctors, doctor, PhD and stuff. But maybe we are losing completely on some things that could be relevant. Because back home, being a mechanic, being a plumber, being a carpenter is not a lucrative job for most people. It's for the low level artisans. But here in the UK, if people can find their route towards handy jobs, they could be living better than their 9 to 5. So some people might be skilled with their hands. Maybe they could do plumbing. They might need to obviously learn how to do that, go to a COGI registered provider and do that. But this is something that they have affinity to, which we don't share a lot. So it would be good for us to see more plumbers, more engineers, more bricklayers, people doing different stuff, because in the UK, that is a viable option, very viable option, to be honest. So missed opportunity like apprenticeship scheme. Yes, a lot of people come in to do masters. A lot of even people that are UK born. What we focus on is I want to do my masters. I want to do my degree. They're not thinking about apprenticeship scheme. And this is a route where the government would allow you to work with a recognized company. The company will sponsor you for 3 years. They will pay you while you are doing that. So it's like you are paying you for your experience, and you spend maybe 20% of your time in academics, and you'll get a degree at the end of it. So you can get a degree without actually going to school. This again is not something that is communicated in the Black community. Everybody is going to, not everybody, most people are going to the standard route, not understanding what are the options, what are the alternatives. So this in itself are the root causes of us not being able to get well on the property ladder. Lack of financial education. This is big. Thank God the Black community, the churches, and Black settings are starting to invite people to come and have financial discussion, for people to enlighten people, for people to just show what is possible. That is improving. But we would encourage pastors, community leaders, Muslims to start having more of this conversation in their setting so that our children grow up understanding what finances mean and what they need to do. It's just not focused on I need to go to primary school, secondary school, university. They need to start learning from an early age. The school is not going to teach our children, so we need to get them early on. We need to set them up with the right programs, with the right TV shows that would help them to be more enlightened financially. Financial education is big. One other thing for the youngsters is rush to leave mom and dad. I said, if you've got a parent in the UK, family member, leverage that as much as possible. Yes, it might not be the most convenient solution, but it's a solution that's going to make a big difference for your future. What that means is you're not rushing out to say, oh, I'm just finished uni now. I'm going to go and rent my own place. I'm going to go to shared accommodation. Because if you're living in London, even in a shared accommodation, you're spending 700, 1,000 plus. If you can save that for a period of 2 or 3 years, that is going to make a difference in your future. So parents also we need to be able to help the younger ones to work together and know, okay, yes, less stress. They are now adults, but we want to encourage them to feel like stay at home a little bit more, save up for your first property. When you can, then maybe the parents can support, even if they can't support, given that space for them to still be able to live in the house while they are just being out of uni or they are not married yet. That is a good thing. The Indians, the Asians, they do this very, very well. So we need to learn from those things and make it work for us. Location bias. A lot of people think I must buy in London. The sad news is not everybody, very few people will be able to afford London. So let that not stop you from investing in property or getting on the property ladder. Find other location. There are places they call commuter belts. There are easy access to London. Even at that, a lot of people don't even work in London. That's the good thing about UK. In different regions, in different cities, you can find work in your location. So you don't necessarily need to work in London. Yeah, people might argue London pays you London wages or London stuff. But when you think about the rent, like I said, getting a room could be costing you £1,000 plus in London, far more than that in some areas. So depending on what zone you are living. So when you think of that, you're starting your career and maybe you're even 5 years, 10 years to your career and you're spending that much, the amount you need to save up for deposit, it would not balance. So you need to start thinking, can I live my life in Birmingham? Can I live in Manchester, even Sheffield, whatever it is? Can I move to Kent? There are different options, and I can almost guarantee that you would find the relevant type of work in those regions as well. So let's just not be focused on London because most people come. It's changing slightly because I see a lot of people maybe go to places like Middlesbrough and stuff, which is a good thing. It means that you can be much more in a better position to get on the property ladder, and you're spending less of your money on expenses. I showed a slide where over 40 years, this is the amount that have passed through people. One of the major reasons why people don't have that is because they are paying for rent, they are paying for expenses, they are paying for things, transportation, and all of those things. So let's move on quickly. Lack of family support from bank of mom and dad. Because a lot of people are first generation, even second generation. Most parents don't have it sufficient for themselves, talk less enough for them to give to their next generation. But if you consider that as other people, uh, it's not unlikely that a white person or even Asian will get an inheritance from their grandparents while they are still maybe 20s or in their 30s. That could be the first deposit for their property. So these things make life easy for them because they've got that sorted. They can actually focus on career, they can focus on growth. Things are balancing for them because they have that generation support that can say, okay, grandparent passed on, mother, father, there's just so much pocket that could come in. It could be 5K, it could be 10K. For some, it could be bigger. So that's one thing that we need to start thinking about. If you have mom and parents that can support you, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they need to give you the deposits. There are a lot of mortgages that would allow you to leverage on assets like that. There might be a guarantor. I will talk about all of that later. There might just be to come together with you on the mortgage. We'll talk about a few of that later. So social pressure, this is big. This is big in our community. It's not, I mean, Asians do big weddings as well. But like I said, they have more stability over the years in the UK. Social pressure of big weddings, social show-offs, that's one of the challenges we have in the Black community. And this is a pandemic in itself. People are only trying to show up like the Joneses, which we should need to now start reorganizing ourselves and rearranging our mindsets. So education loan and debt, again, this is massive. People start, gone to the university. After university, they have debt that they need to start paying. So this is massive. And one of the things with our people is if your parents can afford to, maybe they can start investing in a property in the region you are going for. You can take one room while 2 rooms are rented out to others. That way you're not paying accommodation. The property is growing in value, and maybe that could support your student loan as well. Yeah. So lack of early investment. So the power of compounding interest. It's not unlikely that most people that transition to the UK started at different stages of their life. Some already have families, some are 40 and stuff. Some, if you're fortunate to start early, I say start thinking about compounding power. Start investing early because that will make a big difference for you. Also in mortgage, when you are young and you're getting a mortgage, you can go for a longer term, which means that the amount you are paying monthly will be reduced compared to someone that is maybe 45 years old or 50-year-old that wants a mortgage and we can possibly only go to 20 years. So that's a difference compared to someone that is starting at maybe 30. Maybe 30, it means they can still have 40 years of mortgage, which means their monthly amount is lower just to get them started. Yes, they might change that. The longer you keep the mortgage for, the more money you pay. But at least tell people just start from where you are. Don't be too focused on this. There is different benefit to investing in property. One of the things, maybe if I've not said, why it's property for most people is in the UK, on average, property doubles every 10 years. I say, let's be pessimistic and say, like, okay, maybe not 10 years, maybe even if it's 15 years. So the property you have now, and that's why I give people the challenge, where you are living, go back 40 years and check the amount the property is worth. That would surprise you big time. Go 20 years, check the amount the property is worth, and you realize that there is a high possibility over time, average of the years. It might not be 10% every year, it might be 2% in some year, whatever it is. But on average, this is why it's important for people to start early. Yeah, this is a big one in terms of getting a mortgage. Affordability is a major issue, but we're going to talk about alternative options for people. One of the reasons why this is big in our community is a lot of people have transitioned, a lot of people are low income jobs. When you consider low income jobs and you see like most lenders will give 4.45 of your income. Let's just round that up and say five times your income. If you are earning, say, 30,000, that means the loan amount you can get is about 150. This is not considering your credit card, your loan, or your hire purchase, which is a big thing. When I see most credit reports, hire purchase within the Black community, it's massive. It's massive. So people are paying £300, £500 on a monthly basis. So that is one of the things that affect people. Affordability issues. Early lifestyle upgrade. Again, we like to show off as a Black community. There's no problem with that, but you want to do it with sense. You don't want to upgrade every time that is possible. Like you want to get the latest cars, you want to get a bigger home. Yes, I like the idea of getting a house, and we say over 40 years, but every time you are upscaling, you are reducing the equity in that property, because this is the way it works. Say you buy a property, just for easy calculation, 200,000, and in 10 years' time, that property is worth maybe 300. We don't want to think about it 100%. That means if even if you've taken an interest only mortgage, which is what you usually do for buy to let, and the amount is still 200,000, that means you add additional 100,000 on the equity, which you can refinance and invest in more properties. But for a residential purpose, you're usually paying down your mortgage. So maybe if you start with 150, maybe in 10 years' time, maybe you have, say, 80, which means that your property is now 80,000 in loan. Your property value is 300. That means you've created a big uplift from that. People would then look and say, okay, I've got 300 on the property. I can sell this property, then move on to the next big one. Take the deposit in what they have accumulated over the 10 years and put it on one. But if people are taking the patient route, they'll feel like, I'm going to maintain staying in this house. The equity on this property, I'm going to put it on two, even one property. So that maybe in 3 years' time or in 5 years' time, I have two properties growing for me in capital appreciation. One is generating cash flow. I can then decide to refinance two properties and then go and buy my desired home, my dream home. So they've just delayed that process slightly, but they can still be more financially free because they are not maxed out on their property equity. So it's not, the problem sometimes is not because people don't have a property, but most times they've maxed out on their mortgage. A lot of people are on 90% loan to value, which means your property is worth 200,000. You've taken a mortgage up to 180. There's no leeway for any potential growth. So that's one of the problems. Lack of community orientation. I mean, you would know we don't need to labor on this. We need more community support. We need more orientation. We need to be able to share information like this that's going to help us, that's going to help our next generation. Because when we start preparing the next generation and helping them to grow in the community, the church community, the Muslim community, we'll start seeing that change. People have a better mindset. People like, you know what? I don't need to rush out of my parents' home. I don't need to rush out to buy that 75 plates or whatever it is. I don't need to rush, go and spend money on holiday every time. I can delay this a little and be able to do the right things. That community, it's a massive thing. We can start sharing information in the community, information like this, that we want to get 1,000 people in the Black community to be aware and learn the steps for them to get a property for next year, 1,000 people. So this could be something you can share in your community as well. So this is one of the challenges that we are having as a Black community that is not helping us to build wealth. Yeah, 20, credit issues due to short-term thinking. A lot of people think like, okay, wow, there's credit system in the UK. I can take a credit, buy the shoe I like, buy the car I like, just getting a lot of short-term credit stuff without thinking about investment. And then that starts stacking out. That starts meaning that you are paying significantly towards the monthly repayment. It could be a credit card, it could be a car finance, it could be anything. That's one of the issues. And when people miss their payment, it could be maybe something that they are not aware of. Even it could be a car parking ticket that could lead to CCJ, that could lead to default or stuff. I plead with people to look more into those things, download your credit report, see what is going on, and make sure that you do not have these credit issues because it would affect your opportunity to get a mortgage. Religious bias, I think some of the things, maybe not so going forward, some of the things that is affecting people, it's their religion about finances in the UK. We know UK is significantly credit-backed finance, and a lot of places are not educating their community well enough about what is good debt and bad debt. Some people believe don't go and get a mortgage because it's going to tie you up for 25 years or it's going to tie you up for whatever. But the question I ask is rent you are paying is tying you up forever. You're going to pay rent till you pass on if you don't have an investment for yourself. So again, yes, debt could be an issue, but there are good debt that you're looking to put an investment in and you are seeing the returns, you're seeing the income from that. So over leverage, that could be an issue where, yes, you've seen an opportunity and you feel like, okay, I must do it and maximize everything. Like I said, a lot of people are on max loan, 90% loan to value, and they keep repeating the cycle over time. So that's an issue. Black community, low risk appetite. I think we are very comfortable in 9 to 5 for a lot of people. We are not looking at the economy of, where can I be more economically viable? Maybe starting a business, maybe starting a side also. Maybe some of that are changing now. If you see the Asians, people that are just selling fruit in front of a shop, if you speak to them, you'll be surprised how much they are making from just that. People that have car wash and stuff. So sometimes because of our comfort zone, we don't want to lean out and do things that we know. Yes, it might sound scary, but the long term would be a lot better. Yes, there are stages, there are issues that would come up, but that's one of the issues we are thinking about. We are not prepared enough, or the community is not preparing us for those type of dimension. How do you maybe invest even while you are working? How do you build a business on the side and stuff? So those are some of the things. There are a lot of stuff that we misunderstand. Government benefits. One of those big ones is the right to buy. Although that's been taken away because it's been reduced, but before now, people can get up to 136,000 as a discount for buying a property that they got from the government. Unfortunately, we shouted about this, but a lot of people still did not take it on. But yes, that's another thing people are not aware of. It could be benefit in home ownership, or it could be benefit in employment or in business. So these are things that we would like people to be enlightened about. Right to buy misunderstanding, I've just talked about that. Creative versus conventional methods. So people always think about, yes, mortgage, property and stuff, but there are other fantastic solutions that's just not about mortgage. And this is why we're talking about financial literacy. The more we can start having this conversation, the more people would understand what are the options available to me. There are people that do control. It means that they don't own the property, but they might take a rent to rent from a company. So the landlord, they take a rent from the landlord and maybe they split it into room basis, or they put it on as service accommodation and they generate income from this. These are some of the things that people can start looking to do as a side also on the side, even with their 9 to 5. So again, it's about having the right community around you. Like I said, one of the big challenges is the community you have around you. Having the right community around you that have the right mindset, that have the right access to the level of education you need, either in business, either in property, either even in your career. That is going to change a lot of things about you. So just don't think of this is the one way. There are so many solutions. that you can learn and get used to. So we have talked about why we want to run this 1,000 mission for Black people to own property. The statistics is not showing well on us in terms of where the Blacks are positioned in the UK. And we've talked about the challenges, maybe about how many, 26 challenges that people might face in terms of getting a mortgage in the UK or getting access to property investment, either as a residential place or something that you're doing as an investment. So all of that is understood. We understand the root causes. If it's okay, if you drop in which one resonates well with you, which one you are going to go away with, and start creating a new mindset around that. To feel, okay, maybe this is a challenge I have that I would like to work on. This is something I want to change, or this is something that I wasn't aware of before. That yes, I'm going to take away. So if there's anything that's come to you, please drop that in the chat. Let's see how we are engaging on this. And also, don't forget, if you have any questions, please drop the question. We're going to go through the question shortly. I'm just rounding up now, and then we'll just talk more about the question if you have any question. Or if you have any question, let me know, and I can bring you on, maybe ask the question directly. So, talking about the issues, it's important so that we know where we are falling short. But understanding the issue is not going to be the only thing. Now we know where we are falling short. We know what we need to do, we know how we need to do it. All of this is part of the financial education. Getting a mortgage in itself is process oriented. There are some things that we need to have in place for us to be able to get a mortgage. And like I said from the beginning, this is not financial advice. This is generic training just to enlighten people that you should be thinking in this direction. So, important thing that comes up when you're thinking about getting your mortgage roadmap is one, you need to think about the deposits. Two, you need to think about the property you want to acquire. Three, you need to work with the solicitors, which in the UK we call conveyances. And we would talk about the exchange and completion. First, important thing, like I said, strategic navigation. You can't be going to a place without understanding where you are going, the postcode, and how you are going to get there. So, first is to do your mortgage planning, which is part of what we are doing, but it will be different for different people. You need to be able to get a decision in principle and then the affordability. As part of the challenges I talked about, affordability is a big thing. So, one of the things we do early on when we are working with clients is to check how much can you actually get for mortgage. So these are building block for you to be able to get a mortgage, for you to be able to be a home owner in the UK. It's important without any doubt that the first place is the mortgage planning. What's your current position? What's your credit profile looking like? What is your income level? How long have you been in the UK? All of those questions would help to shape the solution that will be relevant to you, would help to shape what the affordability calculator would be. How much are you spending on transportation? How much are you spending on rent or on your mortgage if you already have a property? How much are you spending on utility? All of those would come in handy when we are discussing the affordability stuff. In terms of deposit, there are different schemes. There are some schemes that could do 100% mortgage where you don't necessarily need to bring any deposits in. There are schemes that will do 5,000. There are schemes that will do 5%. So there are different solutions for different people. So the best thing we can do is to understand your situation and be able to tailor you to the right solution for you. So that is the most important thing. What is your situation and how can we help you to the right track? Talked about mortgage planning, affordability calculator, your decision in principle, your deposit, getting a property, applying for a mortgage, going through the legal system. And in terms of the legal system, one of the things that is important is your source of wealth and your source of fund. So UK needs to have a trail record of how you have come across your deposits or how you've come across the wealth or your savings you have. So that's an important thing. So we would help you to be able to understand what that is and how to answer those questions. So that's important. So there are different mortgage options for first-time buyers in the UK. I'll just quickly run through them. Again, this is just to provide us the idea that this is possible, no matter your position, no matter what your current situation is. Different stages for different solution, different timeline. Some people will do it in 3 weeks. Some people will do it in 3 months. Some people will do it in 3 years. Whatever it is, let's start to plan your mortgage from now. Understand what you need to get ready for the future. So let's just go through a few quickly. We have different government schemes. I've talked about this as we are talking, so but we just quickly run through it. There are schemes from the government, Help to Buy. Like I said before, that's Help to Buy is actually no longer available in England, but it's still available in Wales. This is where government give you 20% equity loan. This could be a big difference in terms of being able to purchase a property. Yes, this will be for new build, but it's a solution that is possible. There are low deposit requirements, 5%, which means it lowers the barrier for entry for new mortgage owners. So you get 75% from the government. 20% from the government, 75% from the mortgage lender, and you come up with 5%, which is a fantastic way to start. So Help to Buy, if you are in Wales, I would really encourage you to look into that more. First Home Scheme. So this is another scheme that the government put together, especially for key workers, people working in healthcare, people working in teaching, people working in emergencies, and all of those. Anybody that is termed as key worker, government would allow you to buy a property with up to 30% usually discounts. What that means is it helps you to be able to make the property more affordable. That discount will need to be passed on in the future in terms of who you would sell to. So when you're selling the property in the future, you will sell at 30% discount as well. So that is a scheme to support key workers. So again, look at the one that fits you. Shared ownership. Shared ownership is where you have a share of the property and you can staircase at different level. Let's say you start with 20% or even 10%. You can increase that based on how your income increases or how you are able to save up for things. So again, I tell people, start from where you are. This is a low start mechanism to get people on. This is usually on flat, but there are also some houses on shared ownership as well. The different providers will determine if they are going to allow you to get 100% of the property. Some people, some housing association would maintain a stake in the property over time, but it's worth considering. Again, this is about awareness. This is about creating the right financial education for people to know what options are available to them. Right to buy. This is significantly different now. Like I said before, you could previously get up to 136,000. If you signed up for that, the government will still honor that, but the discount is still there, but it's just far more reduced compared to what it was in the past, but it's still a possible option for people. So again, don't worry about if you know exactly what this means. We are here to support you to find which one is relevant to you. So lifetime ISA, I encourage anybody that is under the age of 40 to be able to sign up for this. What this means is between age 18 and 39, if you sign up, the government will support every amount you put in up to 1,000 per year, 25% of that. So if you contribute up to 4,000 annually, the government would add 1,000 to that. So this is a good scheme. Let's say you have a child that is starting at 18 and you are in a position to be able to support them, maybe to their part-time work or whatever they are doing, to start saving into this. They start having that mindset to start getting ready for property. And the government is adding 1,000 every year. So at 23, they would have had 20K of their own savings and 5K from the government. That could be a good start for them. So please, if you are between age 18 and 39, definitely encourage you to look into this. There are other developer incentives. So if you're buying a new build, that's something to consider again. So we are just trying to bring all possible options available and then see which one fits into your plan. So some developer will give you 5% developer discount. That's something you can leverage. It reduces the amount of mortgage you want to pay. Recently, there are other developers that possibly pay 12 months of your mortgage. Again, this is something you can explore with the different options. Some lenders are bringing in low mortgage in. So, but these are lender specific, so it's not generic to everybody. We talked about Bank of Mom and Dad, family support options. This is quite big. You might be in a position to be able to help your children, or your parents can help you with gifted deposit. This could be a good way. There might just need to be a guarantor on the mortgage, which means that if the applicant cannot meet up with the mortgage, the bank is satisfied that they have a backup plan. So that is a good way for people to start on this journey. There are other schemes that are called family assist mortgages and mortgages to gift funds. So it could mean that families saving place in linked accounts. So you might have someone that has good savings in their account. They don't want to give you the savings, but they can allow you, your lender, to link that account to know that, okay, this person has got 50K here. They are not gifting you the 50K, but you can use that 50K as a means of deposit, which means that as a young person starting out, or anybody, your parents, your friends, your families that are in a position to help, they don't want to gift you the money, but they are in a position to help, to say, okay, I've got this money in the bank, it's not doing anything for me. We can re-engineer that, maybe put it into a higher savings, but at the same time use it as like a soft landing as guarantor for the lenders to say, we're going to put a charge on this amount. You are not able to take this money out for maybe 2 years, but it would help this person to start their property journey. So this is something I want to encourage more parents to look at, more grandparents to look at as well, because this is an advantage the other community have over us, because they have that level of Bank of Mom and Dad. Again, Bank of Mom and Dad doesn't need to be they are giving you the money. It could just using the system to be able to support you to get yourself on the ladder quick enough. There are other things we go through when we talk about Bank of Mom and Dad in financial planning and stuff, but this is not the forum for that. There are other strategic things people should know about transferring wealth from one generation to the next, and how early they need to start, and the implication that might need to be considered in terms of how they are taking or passing their wealth to the next generation. The major consideration is usually the inheritance tax. So you, as a deceased, estate will need to pay 40% of their overall assets above a certain threshold. So starting to think early of that would help you to actually pass a lot more to the next generation. Because if the government is taking 40% of what you've saved for, what you've worked for, then it's not working for your generation. So that's some of the things we encourage people. This might not be for people that want to buy property. That said, what's going to happen in the future? It's a good time to start having a conversation. It's a good time to start planning. How do you efficiently transfer wealth to the next generation without paying 40% tax and all of those things? Because think about it, you paid income tax, you paid VAT tax, you paid stamp duty, you paid so much tax already. And upon death, this is something that the Black community don't really understand. Upon death, if you've not put your plan properly, you would pay 40% above a certain threshold. This is in itself a big chunk or a big factor in the wealth that is being taken away from the Black community, because people don't think about these things. People don't like to talk about it. They say, oh, yes, we'll talk about this later. I'm not going to die now. I'm not going to do this and stuff. And they leave that too late, and the government take advantage of that. So please, it's a very important thing if you are a parent to start thinking about that from an early stage. So there's so many schemes that you can do as a parent to a child, as a family member to a other family member, that you can assist them to get them on the journey. This is why we want to introduce more of this to our community. Special purpose arrangement, there are other stuff, concessionary purchase. Again, this is part of planning for how do I pass this to the next generation. So there are tax implications to this. So, but what this is meaning is your property might be worth 500,000, and you say, I'm selling it to my son at 300,000 or my children at 300,000. And it means that they are paying less stamp duty on it. And it means that you're passing the assets early to them. Although there's a 7-year rule to say within 7 years, the government will claw back some of that amount if the person passes on before 7 years. But after 7 years, there's a lot of things to gain from that. So it's important, parents, start talking to your financial planner, start talking to your accountant. Your accountant might be able to link you up to a financial planner that can help you to plan properly, because it's not good enough to work all your lifetime and then not be able to pass the money to what you desire for. It might be to your next generation, it might be to a charity, it might be back to Africa. There's so much you could do, but you need to put the right solution in place. So concession purchase is another option. Income booster, I talked about affordability is a big factor, it's a big issue in most places anyway. Maybe it's just a bit obvious in the Black community. So there are things like joint borrower inclusion, income consideration without ownership. So shared legal responsibility would need to be considered. But it means that you have someone that can boost your income. Again, it could be a family member that is old enough. Maybe they don't have income or they have slight income. They can come on an application, but they do not necessarily need to be part of the owner of that property. So there are different solutions for different considerations. So please take this and then have a conversation on which one supports you. Other type of income boosters is, to some lenders, depending on your profession, some people could do up to 6%, 6.5% of your income, which would then be able to boost how much you can borrow. Before, I've said usually it's about 20, usually it's about 4.45 income multiples, but there are lenders that can do 15, that can boost that slightly more, maybe give you up to 6.5% of that. So again, when you're talking to a mortgage broker, let them know what you do. Maybe if you're training as an accountant and you're going to be qualified soon, the lender expects that your income profile will change in the future. You might be a junior doctor that just completed education, or you're just starting work. They know maybe in a couple of years that's going to change slightly, so they would compensate for that. So there are different solutions. The thing is, people just don't ask the question, they don't start the conversation. And it's important you start early and start having this conversation. Helping hand mortgage is another type of mortgage. This gives you 6 times your income. There are different lenders to this purpose. It allows you to just put down 5% deposits. Again, these are other income boosters. First time buyer boosters. These are different lenders. I just want to show us the different things that happens with different lenders with different options. There are lenders that if we put the plan together properly, they can give you 22% more than what average lenders would give you. So this would need you to assess your situation and see which one applies. So I just didn't want this conversation to just be about people buying their first property. There are people that already have their first property that are going to buy their second property. And even a lot of people are starting with buy to let without having their residential. So don't be fooled to think you can't have an investment property if you don't have your first property, because that's sometimes a misconception that people think. For some reason, that might be the best solution for a lot of people. You might be living in London, you don't mind paying the rent in London for whatever reason, but you still want to invest. It might mean that you can invest in other places. You can invest in Kent, you may invest in even Sheffield, because that's what you can afford. And that way, yes, you are paying rent, but there's an asset that is growing for you. Again, this is about mindset. I just don't want the mindset to just be like, this is a one-way solution. The important thing is, if you work with a savvy mortgage broker that's seen many options, especially in the Black community, you will know that there are multiple options, multiple ways. If you're thinking about investment, there are multiple ways to do this. And it's a lie to say you can't get your investment property if you don't have your residential property. That's not correct. Yes, the lenders prefer that, but there are lenders that would allow you to do that. The interest rate might be slightly different, but again, this is to cost. There's a cost to an investment, there's a return to the investment. As an investor, even in your property, you want to think about the return on the investment. Yes, the cost is important for you to understand what you are getting, but think more about the returns. If I go through this process, what would that mean in 5 years? What would that mean in 10 years? What would that mean for my next generation? Let's say I buy a property in London and 40 years' time, what would that mean? So that's where we start making that shift and not think, oh, okay, I've got this amount of money, or sometimes it's not even the money, it's about I've got the credit, I can afford to get a higher purchase. Let me go and get the biggest car on the block. And you're paying monthly over a long time, and you're not thinking about how to grow your own asset or how to grow your own wealth. So that's quite important. So for buy to let, just the basics of buy to let is most lenders would need you to bring in 25%. So it's called 75% loan to value. They will give you, say, for easy calculation, a property that is worth 100,000, the lenders will give you 75%, and they need you to come up with 25,000 for a property worth 100,000. And some people might think, what can I buy with 100,000? I can bet you there's a lot of property you can buy for 100,000. There are properties in the UK you can buy for 50,000, 60,000. So even cheaper than that. But most times it's because we don't ask these questions or we don't know where to look. So buy to let for an investor, please, just if you're in that position, take this on board. You can either invest in your personal name or in a limited company. Speak to your accountant to tell you what's your best solution. We are seeing a lot of more applications as a limited company because there's a benefit to it. But I tell people don't take a generic approach to it. It might not be the best solution for you depending on where you are. Most lenders would expect you to have an income of 25,000. So this is not based on affordability. This is based on that you are getting income from the property. And most times, depending on if you are a high rate taxpayer or low rate taxpayer, determine the interest cover ratio. It could be 125%, it could be 145 if you are high rate, 125 if you're a limited company, or if you are a personal applicant. And also, there are other things like top slicing. So, if your rent is not achieving the loan amount you want, there are lenders that would allow you to do top slicing for that purpose. So, ownership structure, I've talked about it. Either you want it in personal name or limited name. I'm just putting this out there so that you can ask the question, see what works for you. Start getting yourself educated around these things called property, around these things called investment. Then you'll be in a better position to make the right decision. Always in investment, think about it. There are two ways for income. There's a yield and there's a capital appreciation. Even if it's not an investment property, I say think about it as an investment that in future, if you have to rent this place out, would you be getting a good yield? And your yield is your return on your investment. You can just put that in Google, put that in ChatGPT, and give the numbers, and it would help you to calculate that. But the big part of property is the capital appreciation. And this is where I've talked previously, like property would likely double every 10 years. But even if we take a pessimistic view and say maybe it's every 15 years or every 20 years, that's your capital appreciation. You're buying a property worth 100,000 now. In 10 years, how much is it going to be worth? If it's an investment property, you are getting cash flow from that property monthly, most if you're buying in the right location and you are buying at the right price. Talking about price, one of the things I want to leave you away with is you don't make money when you buy property. Sorry, you don't make money when you sell a property. You make money while you buy a property. So for people that are savvy, for people that know what they are doing, there are people that are patient, property that is worth 100,000, the general people might buy it for 100,000, but for you as a savvy person, you want to buy it less than that. You want to buy it 80,000, 85,000, 90,000. It means that you already have a discount worked in when you are buying the property. One, because you are not rushing like every other person. It's not an emotional buy for you. You are thinking from an investment point of view. There are properties in the UK that you can get discounts on. There are many companies that sell you discounted properties that are even verified by surveyors. So, all of that, if you have any question around that, please talk to us. How to get, they call it below market value. There's different reasons why people will sell their property below the market value. It might mean that they want something to happen quickly and stuff. So, in simple terms, think about making money when you buy property, meaning that you are buying at a discount. That's quite an important thing. So, capital appreciation, I was trying to explain, it's the acquisition of the equity in your property. That is where the wealth creation happens. Not much is going to change from the cash flow of your property because there will be so much tax on it, there's so much consideration, expenses, and all of those things. But the big picture is where capital appreciation happen. And one of the things people need to realize is one of the only funds that is not taxed in the UK is the equity from your property. So I've explained this before, but the tax element is such that property is worth 100,000, over 10 years is increased to 200,000, or less over 15 years. If it's an investment property, your loan is still 100,000. But if you refinance up to 75% again, that means 75% of 200 is 150. So now you're getting a loan of 150. What you had before is 100,000. The 50,000 difference, when you take that out, that is tax free. The government does not tax that. And the wise thing to do with that is to reinvest it in another property. If you are in a position to have residential property and two other properties over a long time period, that would significantly be a positive situation for your pension age. So that is quite important for us to start thinking of that. How can I start with one and use that same pot to multiply onto the next and onto the next and onto the next. That is a mindset I want to leave us with. Like, yes, it's good to get on the poverty ladder. That's not the finish line. How can you use the same concept to increase your wealth, to create wealth through property, to start reinvesting the increase from the assets you have done? So that's one of the major things I want you to start thinking about. Ask questions around this. Start delving more into it. First, if you've not started your property journey, how can I start property journey in the UK? Second, if you started, how can I use my property assets to increase my wealth in the UK? And that's where I want to end this conversation. Um, Thank you for joining. I appreciate everyone. Don't know if you have any question, or if you want to have a one-on-one section, we'll be happy to go through a one-on-one. And I really appreciate you for taking your time out today to join this. Um, Quite a privilege to have you on. And please, we're doing this to create more awareness in the Black community. We're doing this to create more wealth together. We're doing this to prepare the next generation ahead of time, so that the little information we can pass on to each other, the better equipped we would be. So if you know if this is going to be useful to anybody, we definitely would love you to share. If you're part of any community and you want us to come and have a conversation with your members, maybe you want to invite us to the church. There are so many things we couldn't touch on today. There are so many practical applications that we couldn't touch on because I wanted to keep this short, not more than 1.5 hours. But we really appreciate you. So please let this conversation not stop here. Let's take this conversation further. Let's go away from here and start asking ourselves questions. What decisions have brought me to this stage? And help yourself to think about it. What decisions am I going to make now that would help me for the future ahead? That future ahead for you might be 20 years. For you, it might be 10 years. For you, it might be much more or much shorter. But you want to start asking yourself those critical questions. What decisions are you going to make now that are going to help you in the journey ahead? What decisions are you going to make now that's going to help your generations that is even yet to born? What decision are you going to make now that's going to give you that financial freedom where you are financially equipped with the right financial literacy? You have your own financial game plan. Again, this is a specific and personalized solution to you. And combined with that, you can have the peace of mind that yes, even if things doesn't look right now, you know that you have the education, you know what you need to do, and you have a plan towards that. The biggest mistake is not having a plan to say this is how we're going to do it. A lot of us have plan in other areas, but I would encourage you to have a plan on this is where my home in the UK, home ownership in the UK, this is the plan for it. Or if you already have one, this is the plan to go to 2 or 3. This is the conversations I want to be having regularly. Get yourself in rooms like this and let that conversation start to sink in. Everything might not make sense at once. The root causes might not make sense, but I can bet you there are 1 or 2 of those root causes that is affecting almost everybody in this webinar today. If we don't deal with the root causes, we are only scratching the surface. And that's why we want to spend more time to talk about the root causes. To get a mortgage in itself is not a big deal. You have professionals like myself that can help you along the way. But it's the mindset that you need to cultivate to make it happen first. So as we are rounding up now, I just want you to take 1 second just to think and give us in the chat What one thing are you going to do going forward? Just one thing. That would be appreciated. Don't be shy. Let's put down what one thing you're going to do going forward. We already rounded this up, but I want to impress this further for us not just to have come here today and learn something, but like life, we might forget that in the next hour because of life situation. But decide for yourself, what one thing are you going to do? What one thing are you going to take away from what you have gained from this section? I really appreciate if you put anything down. Thank you. Um, okay. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Let's close this. If there's no questions, if there's a question, please, if you put it here, let me see if there are other questions. Not that I can see. We got our telephone number. Send a message or you can take things from here. Again, you need to go for a personal roadmap for yourself, different life cycle. Understand, oh, I'm 50-year old. What should I be doing? And that could be a starting point. I'm 50-year old. I live in the UK. I have one property. I don't have property. What should I be doing? That could be the honest questions you can ask yourself. Don't be worried. I've not achieved what I like to achieve. I've not achieved my goals. I've not achieved my aim. That is that should not be of concern. What is of concern is what are you going to do going forward? Like I said, we have the opportunity to reset. That reset would help us to start thinking things forward, to start making the right move, to start making the right decisions when we have a clear plan. Not just the hustle, need to do 9 to 5. That is important, like I've shown. But there are other drivers or there are other enablers that would help us to achieve. So thank you to start mortgage. Going to start mortgage planning. That's very important. Joe, thank you for sharing that. That's very important. Just again, different strokes for different people. Don't be concerned about what your neighbor has done or has not done. Don't be concerned of what doesn't looks like is working or not working. Just be confident enough. Have a conversation with the right professional. Commit yourself to say, okay, just wanted to spend this time. This I may not be ready for this, but I would want to keep the conversation going. Maybe in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, that gives you something you are accountable for, and it helps you to know when you are on track. Because I bet you life would happen. Whatever you've made up your mind now, you're most likely to forget it. So please find someone you are working with and have that conversation. You say, please, I'm actually thinking of getting my own property. I have a 1 year plan. Let's work together on this. Please keep me accountable for this. This is how much I think I can save from work. This is maybe other side also I can get involved in. Whatever it is, just be able to know what your plan is and then be able to move forward on that. So thank you, everyone. Lifetime ISA and investment property, that will be fantastic. Hope please do that, especially for the younger generation, if you can. As you can see, this is just not about us. I believe, I assume we have more adults on this. It's not just about us, the adults, it's about us, the adults, helping the generation that is behind us. Let's make life a lot easier for them. Let's create a pedestal that they can focus on real life progress and not trying to make life horrible or terrible for them. So our life choices now would not just have an impact on us, on our pension age, but it would have an impact on the life coming behind. I always say a joke. If any of you on this call, still on this call, and I appreciate you still staying on, a lot of you would not remember the name of your great grandparents. If you do remember the name of your great grandparents, I mean their first name, not your parents, great grandparents, or even your great parents, if you can remember their name, that would be fantastic. But for most people, if your great grandparents left you with, let's say, UK equivalent of 100,000, you'll be very interested to remember great grandparents' name, and you'll be thanking great grandparents every time to say, great grandparent, thank you for starting my life with £100,000 or whatever it is that it was. Let that be you, that the 5 generations ahead would remember that our grandfather or our grandmother, great grandfather or grandmother gave us an inheritance that we cannot forget. It gave us a pension plan that we cannot forget. It started us off on the right track. Again, it's not just about the money. It might just be about the education. It might just be about the system. It might just be about the process. To say every of your child must be in a position to get a property at age 20 or age 21. And they know that's what your family track on. That's what your family focus on. It's a conversation that they've been having since they are 5-year-old. They said, oh, I heard from grandma or grandpa that I can start buying my property at 18 and grandma is going to support me if I can get some savings myself. You can see it's not just about the money, it's about the mindset. So let's start creating that mindset for our future. So thank you, everyone. Don't have any other questions, but I'll start believing that owning a property is possible. Thank you very much. I like that in capital. Kemi really like that. Possible, not possible is just in small letters. Possible in capital letters. That is good. Yeah, I'll start believing that owning a property is possible. Thank you, thank you. So everybody, I think that's a place. That's a good place to round up. Please leave this place knowing that the next level is possible. Whatever that next level is for you, if it's having your first property, that is fantastic. If it's having your first 5,000 saved somewhere, that is fantastic. If it's taking the next step to start a business or start a career or start getting more awareness, start listening to more YouTube videos about property, let those things start sinking in. Start believing in it and start knowing that it's possible. So thank you for joining. And this is a good place to round up. And I like just this note. So take this away. This is not come from me. Kemi, thank you for sharing this. I'll start believing that owning a property is possible. That is a very big statement there. So let's take that away. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to start mortgage planning. Yeah, thank you for that as well. So commit to one thing you're going to do from here. If you've not read the book, One Thing, I would encourage you to read that. It's all about what one thing are you going to focus on that's going to make a bigger shift in your life. Sometimes we do so many things, but just think about one thing that if I have 10,000 saved, I can buy my property. Or if I can change my career, I can do this. Or if I can get more education on this, I can do what I need to do. So go away with this and think, what is one thing you can do going forward? That one thing might be booking a one-on-one section for us to explore what options are available to you. That one thing might mean that you're going to start your mortgage planning, like Joe has given us. So thank you. I'm going to end the stream now. We'll share this with you. If you've registered for this, you can have access to see this again. If you dipped in and out, maybe for network reason, you have the opportunity to do this again. So thank you. As a round up, just want to appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on this conversation about home ownership in the Black community. We do not take that for granted. We appreciate your time. The most important thing we want to pass on is our mission to get 1,000 Black home owners in the UK within the next 1 year. In education, in preparation, in setting up the process, and in helping them to actually get on the application and get these things done. It's possible. We have done it several times. We know it's possible with the right education, with the right mindset. I know we can make things work better. And that will start shifting, not just for you, it will start shifting for the whole Black community. When through property, through the right education, we are creating a better peace of mind. We are not focusing on the shining object, not the biggest car, not the biggest house or whatever that is, or the biggest holiday, but we are focusing on tangible things, and we allow those tangible things to now fund our lifestyle. It will be a good notion to have property investment, which is now paying for your holiday, which is now paying for your big car, not the reverse, because people do the big car first and they struggle to do the investment. So maybe you want to think going forward, how can I think about putting the investment in place? And then with that investment, I can fund the lifestyle I want. You might want to travel more. You have the investment supporting that. You might want to send your school to private schools. You have the investment supporting that. You might want to live in a big house. You might want to buy a big car. You have the investment sorting that out. So delay gratification for a little while, putting the right plan in place, working with the right professionals would help you to get on track. So if you have any question around property investment, if you have any question around financial planning, if you have any question about generational wealth transfer, because that's something I'm very passionate about. If you are in the Black community and you want to support this mission to get 1,000 people on the property ladder within the next year, please come and have a conversation with us. We would like to come into churches. We would like to come into community centers to come and have this conversation. The more we can spread this conversation, the more the foundation we are building, not just for ourselves, for the years ahead. So really appreciate you. Please think about yourself and think about the next generation. Think about how your win can make a difference in the Black community. We can start changing the statistics. We can start showing up in the right statistics, not just in the negative statistics. So thank you very much. You have a wonderful day. And whatever you do, God bless you.